days after Emily Carter disappeared, her mother received a phone call from Emily's number.
The line was full of static. Then Emily whispered, "Mom!" He keeps pretending to be me. The call ended. Police traced it to a forest nearly 80 miles away. But when they searched the area, they found something much worse. Emily's phone was buried underground, inside a fresh grave. And according to the coroner, it had been there for over 20 years. That was the moment detectives realized this wasn't a normal missing person case. Something impossible was happening. Emily Carter was 19 years old, quiet, smart, the kind of girl who never caused problems. She lived in a small town in Oregon with her mother and younger brother. She worked part-time at a diner and spent most nights studying online classes. Everyone described her the same way: careful, predictable, safe, which is why her disappearance terrified the town so quickly. Because Emily didn't run away. On the night she vanished, she finished her shift at the diner around 10:40 p.m. Security cameras showed her leaving through the back door, alone. She smiled at another waitress, unlocked her car, and drove away. That should have been the end of the story. But Emily never made it home. At first, her mother assumed she stayed with a friend. But by morning, Emily still wasn't answering calls or texts. Her bed was untouched. Her toothbrush was dry. Her wallet and medication was still missing. By noon, police officially opened a missing persons investigation. And that's when things started getting strange. Emily's car was found parked near an abandoned hiking trail, about 30 miles outside town. The engine was cold. The driver's door was open. Her purse sat untouched on the passenger seat. But the weirdest part was the footprints. Police found only one set leading away from the vehicle, Emily's. No signs of struggle, no second person, no tracks coming back. It looked like she had Imply walked into the woods alone. Search teams spent days combing through the forest. Helicopters flew overhead. Volunteers searched every trail and ravine. Nothing, no clothes, no blood, no body. It was as if the forest swallowed her whole. But something was wrong. The dogs kept reacting to the same area deep in the woods. Every search dog became aggressive, near an old ranger cabin hidden between thick trees. The cabin had been abandoned for decades. When police entered, they found dust everywhere, rotting furniture, broken windows. And one thing that made every officer uncomfortable: there were photographs nailed to the walls. Dozens of them. Every picture showed young women, different years, different styles, different ages. But every single one looked terrified. Some were crying. Some appeared tied to chairs. And in the corner of nearly every photograph, there was a tall, blurry figure standing in the shadows, watching. Detectives assumed they had discovered Evie. Idents connected to a serial kidnapper. But then they checked the dates. Some photos were over 40 years old. Several women in the images had already been reported missing decades earlier. None of them were ever found. That's when the FBI joined the case. The cabin became national news overnight. People started calling it the Hollow Creek disappearances. And then another woman vanished. 22-year-old Lisa Moreno disappeared only 4 days after Emily. Same pattern. Last seen driving home alone. Car abandoned. One set of footprints leading into the woods. No return trail. Fear spread through the town fast. Parents stopped letting children outside after dark. Stores closed early. Hunters refused to enter the forest anymore. But detectives still had no suspect, until one officer noticed something disturbing in the cabin photos. In the background of one image, scratched into a wall, were the words, "He wears their faces." Nobody understood what it meant. Not at first. Then came the phone call from Emily, the one her mother received at 2:13 a.m. Police originally believed someone was using Emily's phone to taunt the family. But when forensic teams dug up the device in the forest, everything stopped making sense. The phone model was impossible. It was covered in dirt and decay. Parts of it were fused together by moisture. The battery had corroded beyond use. Yet records showed the phone had made a call only hours earlier. Detectives thought maybe the evidence had been tampered with, but then another call came, this time from Lisa Moreno's number. Her father answered. Lisa sounded terrified. She whispered, "Don't trust the man with my face." Then screaming erupted on the line. The call disconnected. Police traced the signal again. Same forest. Same area, near the abandoned cabin. Search teams rushed there immediately, and this time, they found someone. A woman stumbled out from the trees around dawn, barefoot, covered in moo. At first officers thought it was Emily. But when they got closer, they realized the woman was much older, around 50. She looked malnourished and terrified. The woman kept repeating the same sentence over and over. He copies them. Detectives brought her in for questioning. Her name was Martha Bell, and according to official records, Martha Bell had disappeared in 1987, 39 years earlier. The room went silent when detectives confirmed her identity. Martha should have been elderly, but she looked barely older than 50. Doctors couldn't explain it. Martha refused food, refused sleep. She only stared at mirrors with absolute terror. Finally, after hours of questioning, she told detectives a story so disturbing, most believed she was insane. She said something lived in the forest. Not a man, not an animal, something else. She claimed it watched people for days before taking them, learning them, studying how they talked, walked, smiled. Then it would be Kai. Il them. And where them? At first, detectives dismissed it as trauma-induced psychosis. Until Martha described details from the old disappearances nobody had publicly released. Names, locations, injuries. She knew everything. And then she said something that made one detective physically sick. It still looks like Emily. That night, officers placed Martha in protective custody at the local hospital. 3 armed guards stood outside her room. At 3:07 a.m., one guard heard Martha screaming. By the time they entered, the room was empty. The window was still locked from the inside. Security cameras showed nobody entering or leaving. But for exactly 13 seconds, every camera feed in the hallway went black. When footage returned, Martha was gone. In her hospital bed, investigators found wet soil scattered across the sheets. And one long strand of hair that didn't belong to her. It belonged to Emily Carter. That's when panic truly hit the department. Some officers quit. ASAs refused night shifts. Because deep down, everyone was beginning to believe the impossible. Something was taking people from the forest. And it was still hunting. Detective Aaron Pike became obsessed with the case. He stopped sleeping, stopped going home. His office walls became covered with photos, maps, and timelines. The disappearances stretched back nearly 60 years. Always near Hollow Creek Forest. Always young women. Always impossible evidence. Then Pike discovered one final detail, hidden in the oldest police files. In 1962, a hunter reported seeing a woman wandering naked through the trees at night. When he approached her, she smiled strangely and asked for help. But something felt wrong. The hunter claimed her face looked unfinished, like someone trying to imitate a human from memory. The man fled. 2 days later, he disappeared. Detective Pike returned to the abandoned cabin alone after reading the report. That decision ruined his life, his body. Y camera recorded most of what happened. The footage was never released publicly, but parts leaked online years later. It begins normally. Pike enters the cabin with a flashlight. Dust fills the air. The walls are now empty. No photographs. No furniture. Nothing. But then Pike notices muddy footprints leading downstairs to a hidden basement door. He follows them. The basement is pitch black. The camera struggles to focus. Then Pike whispers something that still terrifies people who hear the recording. There's someone standing down here. At first, nobody can see anything. Then, the flashlight moves slightly, and a face appears in the darkness. Emily Carter. She's pale, motionless, smiling. Pike calls her name. She doesn't answer. She just keeps smiling. Then slowly, another face begins emerging behind her, like something peeling away from her skin. The footage cuts out for 7 seconds. When it returns, Pike is running, screaming. Heavy footsteps echo before. In him. Not 2 footsteps. Too many. Like multiple legs moving together. Pike reaches the cabin door and stops. Someone is standing outside. Lisa Moreno. Except her neck bends too far sideways. Her mouth hangs open unnaturally wide. And behind her, dozens of figures stand between the trees, all wearing human faces. The camera falls. The footage ends. Detective Aaron Pike disappeared that night. No trace of him was ever found. The FBI sealed the case soon after. Officially, the disappearances remain unsolved. The cabin was burned down by authorities. The forest trails were permanently closed. But people still vanish near Hollow Creek. Hunters report hearing voices, calling their names deep between the trees. Sometimes the voices sound like family members. Sometimes like missing people. And every few years, someone receives a phone call from a number that should no longer exist. The creepiest part came last year. A teenage boy uploaded a video online after getting lost near Hollow Creek during a camping trip. The video was deleted quickly, but thousands saw it first. In the clip, the boy is crying while recording himself at night. He says he hears someone following him in the dark. Then, a female voice calls out softly from the trees, "Help me." The boy points his flashlight toward the sound. For 1 second, a woman steps into the light. Pale skin, lank eyes, a terrified smile. And before the video cuts off, she says 4 words that nobody has ever forgotten. "You shouldn't trust faces.